Successful people who got crappy grades in high school or college. What are you doing now and how did, or didn't, your grades affect your success/career? I had some serious depression in college that tanked my grades. I managed to end up with a 3.0 GPA, but I failed several courses in my major. I pretty much had A's or F's. I did well enough and interviewed well enough that I got a job. It has mostly affected me in that I'm worried I won't get into a good graduate school program because of my crappy grades in my major. I haven't applied, but I know I would do well now that my mental health is in order and I know my grades don't show that. My husband and I are opposites. We are both intelligent, but I was very motivated to get good grades at school etc, whereas he was not. We met at university where I once again outperformed him when we graduated. I initially got the better paid, better jobs and was the main earner. Then, he got employed at a world-renowned company in an entry-level job, but in a sector he was passionate about. It also turned out, when motivated and interested in the subject matter, he has a genuine talent for innovation. Within 8 years, he worked his way up from a bottom-rung grunt on a temp contract to an associate director, who, when he got headhunted by another company, was given a 40% pay rise as a counter-offer to keep him, because it was acknowledged how valuable to his company he is. He has the most motivated team in his section of the company. I, on the other hand, lost motivation, got trapped in a role that has de-skilled me, and when I applied for a role, was told my degree is no longer relevant because it's over 10 years old. So, in summary, grades are bullshit and it's more important to find something you enjoy and are good at, in my experience/opinion. Not too crappy but good enough to enter foundation of a medical school. Some of the peers scored 9s plus in the national high school exam and am the lowest scorer among all 3As. Never failed any university year exams, but didn't score too well either. Just enough to pass the exam. Currently waiting for government notice to work as an intern doctor. IMO grades are important, but the path that you're going to take, aka your dream, is even more important as it is the foundation where your future holds. I was a very good pupil up until tenure, then it went from not great to pretty bad to awful to get that guy out of my school. I'm talking grades. I was not particularly well behaved all the time, especially a bit confrontational when I had a feeling of injustice, but several of my teachers were still quite fond of my smart ass. I ended up trying many different curriculums, mostly ed stuff. Failed every single one of them up until the point I could do nothing more but start to search for a job at 26, with my biggest diploma being the basic one everybody in my country pass at 17 or 18, and even that one I got at 22 at my third attempt. Then as soon as I started to work, things felt much more real than at school, much more fun and motivating. I started to find solutions to problems people didn't even knew they had, and after years of being the weird kid at school, I suddenly became rather well liked by all. It boosted my confidence, playing with the systems upped my skills, and everything has been great ever since. I have now a very good position as a senior system engineer in a huge international structure. My bosses are very happy with my work, and I'm very happy to have the latitude to set myself most of my agenda. So, bad grades? It did not affect my career at all. Somehow, as a kid, I had that weird feeling that my grades weren't going to be important in the long run, and that's how it unfolded. I'm now rather proud of my accomplishments, especially as being so bad at school left so many people thinking I was dumb, and my apocalyptic grades add a nice backstory when discussing my career. Though I always stress, when talking about it with kids, that I have been extremely lucky, and that the probability of such a happy end, when you suck that much in school, are extremely low. I'm a factory worker that owns property, and is working on getting a farm going. Considering I don't have any loans out yet, I'd say I'm doing well. Lol, I live with my grandma, since I need to get going on phase 2 of my plan, and she's letting me chill until I get my house built in 2021. Everything I own has been obtained through hard work, but none of it can be taken away, since it's 100% mine. I'm currently a scientist and enjoy doing research. I come from a country where emphasis is on memorizing, rather than learning and applying the said knowledge. I failed a lot during school. Luckily, when it was time to look for universities, sister campus of a well-known university opened where I lived. Their entry requirements were not that bad. I got in, and my grades improved massively as I could apply what I learned. Moved countries to do a master's and a PhD, and here I'm now. I still curse my original country's style of education. I guess I'm successful at this point. I have $10k in retirement savings, own a home and a car, and have a stable paycheck. I'm a bit behind on my retirement savings, but I'll catch up. I wasn't employed full-time until 4 years ago, so it's understandable. I work in marketing and get paid $11/HR. My ability to keep my credit up and manage my money well has helped me more than grades ever have. I'm changing careers and am planning to be a math teacher. Passing is more important than grades. Nobody asks my grades, only that I have the credentials. I got C's in high school and failed out of college twice. I then joined the Marine Corps, got out and used my GI Bill to get my bachelor's and master's degree successfully. I now work in a major corporation doing data analytics and logistics work and make a pretty great salary with tons of potential to make a lot more, since my company only promotes from within at the levels I'm at. I'm also in the process of starting my side business that will hopefully go full time in the next few years with some of my savings from my career. My family lives a very comfortable lifestyle with nice cars and a nice house. Although I did fail out of college twice, I did wind up getting 2 degrees. I just want people to know, since a lot of former Marines always tell me this. Even if you aren't book smart or a school person, go get your damn degree. Especially if you have the GI Bill. I hated every second of school, like despised it, but stuck through it. Even if you don't have the GI Bill, student debt isn't as bad as Reddit makes it out. I had some from when I failed out of school twice. My wife has her master's degree and it more than pays for her student loans. We both worked full time and got our degrees at the same time, with kids. Community colleges are cheap, and state schools aren't bad either. Just work hard, put in more effort than those around you, and most of the time you'll succeed. I got really bad grades in both. When I was in my early 30s, I had a big chip on my shoulder about it, and started taking college classes at large, one at a time. The motivation I had to do well in them was incredible. After a while of that, I was able to take my new transcripts and use them to get into grad school. No one cared that I had gotten poor grades 10 years earlier. Astronomer here. I was never a good student, because I couldn't for the life of me take tests well. I could study hard, but somehow never be able to answer things in the exams. Either total blank or totally misread the question type stuff. So I mainly got BS and CS, just over a 3.0 in high school, and a 3.2 in college, but even failed the occasional exam in high school and college. It was pretty demoralizing, especially when the advice in high school was just that I must be lazy, even when I worked hard to study, as there seemed to be no difference if I did or didn't. By college I realized I just don't test well, so I had to make up for it by turning in really good homework for the chance of a B or a C as my final grade. So I worked hard on those problem sets. I also got to know my profs in office hours and ask questions, and helping with those homeworks aside, that definitely helped me sometimes. When I was on the cusp between 2 letter grades, profs usually bump up students they know worked hard in their class, as they are people. One of those profs offered me a summer job in his lab, so I got a ton of research experience in as well. Ultimately, when applying for grad school, I got into one program for my astronomy PhD. It turns out taking exams really has no bearing on your capacity to do research, and instead the grit to work extra hard on homework and in the lab was way more useful. So I completed my PhD and did kick-ass research. So just started my postdoc in astronomy a few weeks ago at Harvard. It's so surreal to me as I never thought I was good enough for a position like mine. So in conclusion, I always make it clear to people that you don't have to be a straight A student to make it in STEM. Doing that would have definitely helped, but wasn't going to happen for me, and ultimately if you're passionate about your topic enough to work extra hard at it, you can also succeed. Don't count yourself out too quick. Got a JED after flunking out of high school, struggled a few years, went to community college, and left with a 2.6 GPA and a general studies associates. Went to university and majored in the most generic thing possible, psychology. Graduated with a 2.7. Basically always doing the minimum. 10 years later and I'm happy. Married with 3 kids. Moved us to a new state in an area where it's not at all competitive because I'm lazy. Got a decent stress-free job in quality assurance. Own a home. So basically lazy but smart enough to go through the motions, and know myself well enough to end up in a spot where I'm happy, even though it was far away from my starting point. Went to for-profit college that didn't care about grades, but also was world-renowned, and had an incredible curriculum. Graduated college with a 2.7 GPA. Got my first job at a recording studio, because I went to this school. Got a job at a radio station, because even though my grades weren't great I know my stuff, and even walked out of college with a few certs. Now, I run my own recording studio, and have several other side hustles. Turns out I'm not dumb, just have a problem with authority. I was a very average student through high school, and even more average during university, even repeating a bunch of units as I struggled through. But I got there, and graduated with a degree in chemistry. Been a good ride since, successful in instrumental analysis AMD managing laboratories, and now earning well over 6 figures internationally in the oil and gas industry. My grades never mattered, the piece of paper merely served as a key to many doors. My parents never thought I would ever go to college. In fact, growing up, my brother always made honor roll, and got really high test scores, and got a full ride to college. My test scores were really low, my grades were very middle of the road, and I was offered only one $500 scholarship. So, not much. After dropping out, and working a bunch of dead-end jobs in my 20s, I went back to school and tried again. No one thought I would finish. I ended up finishing 2 degrees in 5 years, and now I work at a 4-year university on professional staff within academic affairs, and I make quite a bit more than some of my peers. Everyone I work with assumes that I made stellar grades in high school. I'm an it, but I think my situation applies in most, not all, fields. As time passes the focus gradually switches to your experience. After 5 to 10 years your experience, track record, and fit within the org will become the key. No one will care about what grade you got in calculus. After 26 years in my field my resume has one half line that acknowledges I graduated from XXX and 19XX with a degree in ZZZ.